Hello, my name is Shirley Self and I'm here to talk astrology. Tonight I wanted to talk about death. Samhain is fast approaching. Samhain, the celebration and realization of death in life, as opposed to Beltane in the spring, which celebrates life in death. So we've had a lot of dying going along around us, and makes sense because we've got a Pluto on the U.S. chart that opposes our Mercury, and it's actually 4 degrees or 5 degrees off of that direct opposition. But Pluto, our transiting Pluto, is perfecting that opposition right now, and will move on in a couple of years to conjunct its natal Pluto. Our natal Pluto will have our Pluto return. And we're already seeing how much fun this is. Pluto is not fun. Pluto is, well, in esoteric astrology, it rules not only Scorpio, but it rules Aries. And so the Scorpio part of Pluto is the clear cut, the leveling that has to be done before a new thing can be started in its place. Both of them ruled by Pluto. And so what we're seeing now is a leveling, but Pluto rules Aries, and a new start can be made once we've purged ourselves. And the purge, I think, has to come with realization that we have not been following our mythology, that we have not been, our mythology is a myth. We are not bringing democracy to the world. We are pandering to dictators, always have. And what's happening now is, well, we've got a Neptune opposition in the U.S., so we know those things that have been, they've not been that well hidden. You know, it's in the history books, it's in the books, but our history is not well taught. I had history in high school, junior high school, and college, and the best history I got was from my 1st to 7th grade teacher in grade school, who would actually talk to us about what we had been doing. And we've been doing the traditional thing. We've been going after empire. And that's our moon phase 18. It says, okay, you have to give up that old ideal and develop a new one. Focus on a new one. And so that's where because the United States is a moon phase 18, that is what we're preparing to do, is to give up. And we're virtually that old ideal of the conquering hero as a time to turn it into a true hero, one who does not kill, but one who promotes life. So here we are, we're coming up to Beltane, and I thought I would talk about the process of death according to the Yeats material. It was pretty straightforward. He was saying, and I've always had kind of this feeling that I didn't really belong here and haven't been terribly happy here. But then Pluto, which I'm talking about right now, the Lord of Death, is opposing my sun and conjunct my moon. So my moon can't help but notice those things that are dying, and notice it first before it notices the beauty of the surroundings. So Pluto is hard. We're getting ready to deal with it in full regalia. But the thing about death that Yeats said is that coming into this life is like diving into the darkness. So that a birth, our birth here is often we're welcomed. Usually we're welcomed, and but on the other side, it's oh, good luck, do your best. But it's a sad thing to see us go, to have us come down into this very, very difficult work of experiencing life in the physical body. So Yeats said that when you die to this life, you are there is a celebration on the other side, and I like to think of that, and it's pretty much people have pretty much know that now. Go to the light. My mother had a near-death experience and saw all her family waiting for her at the end of the tunnel, but she didn't make it that far. She was dragged back and was pissed off about it for several years, maybe permanently, but anyway. So the act of dying. Well, let's go back into the basics. Back there, you see the Kabbalah, and you see that's the supernal triangle. Down here, this is life. This is life here. So we've gone from 3 to 4. Now the 3 are parts of us that continue, the eternal parts of us, are the celestial body, and that is the goal, the big goal. It is, as Yeats said, the golden wedding garment. We're trying to fulfill a goal, an idea, and it's a big idea, and it's I think that in this life, in your horoscope, that idea is represented by your Uranus. It's the idea of you or who you should be this lifetime. And then another part of you is called the passionate body, and that's your body of desires. And those desires virtually drive your life. A desire is unique. Your desires have been built up so that you desire what, like I said, unique. It's unique is a very Aquarian word. Anyway, it's the desire nature that, and it's called the passionate body. It's your desire nature that pulls you into relationship. It's your desire nature that makes you go do something creative, something adventurous. And that's your desire nature, and it's uniquely yours. You've built it up. The early cycles, they said, is like Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Those early cycles are of beings who have no desire. You start out with no desire, and that desire is built up and built up and built up until you are who you are, and your desire that guides you through life is your very own, and like no other. So that's the passionate body, and it is it's the sex. It's sex, for one way. Way of putting it. Because without that desire, we wouldn't have anything to do with each other. We wouldn't have any curiosity, no urge for a relationship, and therefore no children, no creativity, etc. Well, anyway, the third part of you is called spirit, and Yeats called spirit, but it's your own unique personal consciousness. It's the individual, your individual consciousness. And so those 3 parts of you, when you are incarnated, there's a 4th that is added to you, and Yeats called that the husk. But and it is the idea of you, and that idea of you lives in you virtually, and guides you through through your life down here on Earth. The husk is Anubis, who I've seen pictures of Anubis leading leading his person through the lower half of a circle. And the top half, of course, Anubis is the one that presides over the funerary rites. And that's what our husk does to us. It guides us through a life, and at the death, it stands guard over the body until the body is disposed of. Here, this is a beautiful picture of Anubis. There he is, the jackal. standing there behind the new little will, the newborn, the fool. And Anubis. Now this little guy, he's holding his wolf. He has a little rope on him, but I think that's actually the wolf leading the child through, because Anubis knows where you're going. So when you die, Anubis hangs out with the body, and the celestial body, the spiritual idea of you, leaves through the feet. The passionate body, your desire nature, leaves through the genitals, and your individual consciousness or spirit leaves through the head. And understand that spirit stays with the body. Well, and here's as through the body for quite a period of time. And so here's everything you say to it and about it. So think of that, that just because a person's gone doesn't mean that you can't tell them how you feel about them. But be careful of recriminations or blame or, because that makes the person's passionate body, makes it denser. And the passionate body is a major cleaning effort after death, to clean that passionate body so that you can reincarnate with a clean desire nature, a clean passionate body. So a spirit or individual consciousness attends the funeral. A glitch can happen. The person may not know he's dead, and I thought about Robinson Crusoe. He was on that island all by himself. And fortunately, Friday came. And I'm thinking, oh, Robinson Crusoe will not have to haunt the place, ignorant of his death. But poor Friday. Now, if Friday outlives him, Friday's going to be the ghost on the island. Anyway, the person has to know that they're dead. And eventually they find that out. So that's an important part, and if they don't know it, they can hang around for a while. If the person has been really egotistic, or it's a tremendously traumatic a death, like a murder, the consciousness will just hang around with the husk, with Anubis, and be a ghost. But eventually, the spirit or the consciousness learns that it's dead and goes on, because the consciousness has to go on. It's the witness to all the work that has to follow death. So, the work you have between lifetimes, you have to do three things. You have to clean the passionate body. It means you have to eliminate all emotional stuff that hasn't been resolved, and that can be negative. That is usually negative emotions, but it can also be the positive emotions too. You need to be brought into neutral in the emotional realm, and so how that is done is, Yeats called it the dreaming back, and you go over and over and over and over whatever emotional trauma you had, until all the passion is drained out of it. And you're tend to start with the biggest problem, and work on that. And then after the passionate body is cleansed, remember the individual consciousness is attending to all of this. The next job is to seek out the root causes of action. Why did I do that? What caused me to do that, and what happened ultimately? What was the collateral damage? And the Yeats called this the return, and it is a recapitulation of events, finding why did I make that choice? Why did I go there instead of over there? Why did I marry this one instead of that one? All those questions, because understanding is really, really important. Understanding is the Saturn on the Kabbalah. It's and it is essential to knowledge. Understanding becomes knowledge. So after you've understood, come to understanding about everything you've done, you do something that brings you back into spiritual balance. These are called the shiftings. And you will experience, I mean, anything that you were an extreme about, you know, if you're a fanatic about this or that, and I'm talking mostly religion here. Of course, religion is bigger than you think it is. One's belief system, that's what we're talking about. So you'll experience the opposite extreme, and that's simply to restore your balance. And during all all these three jobs, you've got help. The beings of what Yeats called the 13th cone, those beings who have raced ahead of the rest of us and come to the 13th cycle, in which you live in the wholeness, the sphere of wholeness. You are conscious and probably not incarnated unless you want to be, to do some special work, bodhisattva kind of work. So those beings are of help to us in doing this. They set up the scenarios, they set up the scenes, and they play the parts. But after you've done all this work and have come to understanding and knowledge, that's Saturn and Uranus. You enter a state that Yeats called the beatitude. And this is a state of exaltation. Exaltation. It's total. You're partaking of total consciousness, and you hang around with your companions, those who are whom you go in and out of life with, I guess, a lot the same people, and they are your companions in life and between life, or on the other side. I think that life on the other side is not between lives. That is a life of its very own. Because a lot you're learning, you're watching, you're contemplating where you need to be going next and what you need to do next in order to fulfill your celestial body. And so you get to hang out with your companions. Now, I once asked my my guardian, my guide, my daemon, I said, "You have others too, don't you?" And my daemon, and I think I visualize the daemon as a he, and Yeats said that's usual. The daemon will be visualized as the opposite sex. But anyway, I said, "You have others beside me, don't you?" And he said, "Yes, and they are all you." And that makes it makes sense if you've read the works of Jane Roberts, who channels Seth. One of my favorite books is The Nature of Personal Reality, in which he talks about this the daemon who has a lot of fingers in the pie, and they're all you. So, reincarnation. The reincarnation, people say, "Oh, it's happening faster and faster." I don't know. But you will reincarnate in a place and time that is appropriate for you to achieve your goals. Now, as far as reincarnation comes, your individual consciousness knows the goal, but does not know the details of your next life. And it has been part of the decision about what that goal should be next lifetime. But the details, now, the closer you come to reincarnation, the clearer those details get. And Yeats says you cannot stop reincarnation, but you can delay it by just no. I don't know how you do that, but anyway, he said you can postpone it, but you can't stop it. That it's coming, and that's what you've got to do. So let's talk about if you don't do enough your work very well, and the incomplete cleansing of the passionate body is quite common, and it can be the job you do on this earth this time can be so difficult to bring into understanding that the person may reincarnate in the same phase and just do it over again. Do it over again. I don't know if it's going to be any harder or what, but I think there's a lot of repeats. But if you don't have very far to go, I mean, if you don't have that much, Yeats says that's why people die really young, is that they didn't have that much. They were probably in a repeat, and they didn't have that much to experience. So if you haven't managed to completely cleanse the passionate body, it will cause you problems next time. Like sometimes people are tied together in victim and tyrant kind of scenarios, and that passionate body has trouble cleaning that out, really. And they can come around and come around and come around, one the victim this lifetime and the tyrant the next, until somebody wakes up, until somebody does a good job between lifetimes, cleans up that passionate body. So the passionate body, the better job you can do to clean up those unresolved emotions, the clearer and more innocent you will be, and your karma will be better. It'll be easier for you to, you can be a genius. It says it'll allow your genius to percolate into reality if you can do a really good cleansing of the passionate body. Now, what's interesting to me is that when I read the Don Juan, the Carlos Castaneda books, he talked about a technique in which you clear the passionate body in this lifetime. And it looked like a hell of a lot of work. The thing about doing the work between lives is you don't have to deal with it in the body. There is not that kind of pain. But Carlos, he said that you can clear it. You have to spend an awful lot of time on your own. You have to build yourself a environment, a box, that doesn't have anybody else's emotional trauma in it, that doesn't have, virtually has been untouched by anybody but you. And you sit in this for days, years, hours, I don't know, because I haven't done it. But I have noticed that when I am doing that kind of deep cleansing of my emotional nature, that I do what Castaneda said. I turn my head, and I turn my head, and I think that it might be a natural thing. But anyway, that's part of the process. Is there are certain body movements that go toward releasing, because the crap sits in your body. So if you can do a good cleaning this between lives, or even do it this lifetime, like Castaneda is said to have done, next lifetime you will be a genius. So I am not afraid of death. I've actually tried suicide in my youth about 3 times and was saved by my daemon every time. I did incomplete planning, and Aries. It was a Mars in Aries, Saturn in Aries, and Aries doesn't completely plan. It just does its thing. So I'm not really afraid of death. I am afraid of the process, and I think that that's why, one of the reasons why I wanted to take charge of that process is because I was in my childhood so afraid of the dangers of the world. Not the dangers of the woods or anything, but the dangers that come with other people. So so that's my take and the Yeats take on death. Look in your horoscope, 8th house. Look what's on the cusp of the 8th house. And it will tell, and who rules the 8th house, and what's the condition of the ruler of your 8th house. And it will tell you a lot about your death. The 4th house, that's where you're going to land up. That's where your cemetery is, or that's where the folks are going to dump your ashes. So there's a lot of death going on. Don't let it get you down. I can understand why people are... horror movies are one way of dealing with it. Just scaring the shit out of you and letting release a lot of this terrible anxiety that we have around death and dying. So there it is. That's what we've got. That's what we have to deal with, and we all have to go through it. And but I think it's worth it. Like Yeats said, on the other side, they're applauding and they're saying, "Welcome home. Welcome home." And he did point out that that isn't always the case when you come into this world. You're not always welcomed, but you are always welcomed when you go home. So, I pray that you're well. Wear your mask, wash your hands, and let the people you love know you love them. I'll talk to you later.